It's good time right now to check in with Cade Pribula, and I'm never sure how to describe Cade anymore. He's a friend, first of all. That's the most important thing. But he was a quarterback at the University of Delaware. His brother is Bo Pribula. A lot of you have heard of him, who's out at the University of Missouri now. But he's also a budding NFL agent, and I hope I'm saying that the correct way. Cade, great to have you in this morning. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Gary?
Good. Is that the best way to describe you? Did I do good, or did I miss a few things?
Oh, I mean, you do a great job every time.
Boy, that was sucking up. I'll tell you what, that was really sucking up. I like that.
There's a few more things, but I mean, they're.
So what else? Tell people what else you're doing, because you're a kind of a renaissance man. You're working on a lot of things right now at a very young age, but you're doing well at all of them.
Yeah. So I like you said, I played football at Delaware, grew up in New York, transferred and got my MBA at Sacred Heart. I am a licensed NFL agent, and I work with a small agency. I have 3 or 4 partners in it right now. We represent 8 guys that are preparing for the NFL draft and about 25 guys between college football, college basketball, and NIL. And then I also work for Engine Code Development out of York, Pennsylvania, and I raise capital for them.
Wow. So see what I'm saying? I mean, you are a renaissance man. Would you call yourself an entrepreneur?
I think like one. I don't. Yeah, I guess for the sports agency, I was involved in the startup of that. So.
Right. Yeah, we were just talking this morning about how hard it is to start a business here in the country today, but you're a guy that kind of prepared for this. I mean, you were getting ready for this the whole time, and I think you have a little bit of a vision there, right?
Yeah, there's a big opportunity with the start of NIL to start a sports agency, because you can build relationships with guys while they're in college and help represent them with their negotiations with their schools and bring them marketing deals. And with every startup, the hardest part is capital, and we have good partners who funded us in our first couple years when we were not breaking even, but now we're in a good point. And startups are not easy, but it's been a fun ride, and we're at a good spot right now.
And you're right. That's a brand new frontier out there with the NIL stuff and all the various ways that college athletes can make money now, and you're certainly stepping in there at the right time. I want to talk a little bit today about 3 other things with you, and the first one is the tush push. Mark and I were talking this morning, or they call it the brotherly shove in Philadelphia. It has other names too. Penn State used it a lot this year, but the tush push is when you push a guy into the end zone with your other players there on a football team, usually in a 1 yard or a goal line situation. But I remember years ago, and the game that stands out was USC against Notre Dame, where there was a big to-do made about that when the guy from USC pushed into the end zone on that, and no one had really seen that, and I thought they outlawed that for a while. When did that kind of come back? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I wish they would. I'm not sure if they ever did actually outlaw it. I wish they would, though. It's not a play. So last year, what really brought it back for sure, brought a lot of attention to it, was the Eagles.
Yes.
With Jalen Hurts, they've been very successful at it. I've seen last year there was a lot of talk about banning it. Maybe it was 2 years ago, actually. And then those kind of died down. But as I watch these games, I wish that there was a little bit more. The beauty of football is the war between the coordinators and guessing what one another is going to do.
Right.
And when you get up there and do a tush push, to me, that's not true. That doesn't involve any strategy. It's hard to judge where the ball is. Like, these spots they're so subjective.
Right.
So I'd like to. The simple rule would be, after a direct snap to the quarterback or running back or whoever it is, you cannot push from behind.
Okay.
That would be the simple fix to the rule. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, what you're getting into, starts to look like rugby a little bit, with the big scrum there in the middle, and you get at it, and it's just basically, am I stronger than your guys are? And that's one of the big things. So I look at it and I think, okay, well, it's kind of a neat little thing you can use, but I wonder why everybody doesn't use it. That's the other thing. Maybe their offensive lines aren't as tough as they want them to be or whatever. But I know what you're saying. There's a certain beauty to the game, and that seems to detract from the beauty and just go to muscle in that moment. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. I think, especially on those crucial plays, there's those 3rd down, 4th downs. You see other teams do cool things. And the Bills ran a speed option with James Cook and Josh Allen, and James Cook took it and dove. And those are exciting athletic plays. That's why we watch the game.
Right.
We don't watch for a big pile in the middle of the field, and we don't even know where the ball is, and they argue with the refs. Oh, he got it, he didn't get it. It's just not appealing football. I think it's an easy fix, and teams will figure it out again. I know a lot of teams, when they have a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, that's the only call on the play sheet, but they'll have to figure it out again. And it'll be, I don't see it being a problem with teams accepting that.
Penn State picked up a new defensive coordinator this week, Jim Knowles, who now is the highest paid assistant in college football. I think of $3.1 million roughly at Penn State now, and obviously the pressure now goes on to Penn State. I think if Penn State doesn't do well with this, they'll just go get maybe they'll buy the Ohio State football team, put blue and white uniforms on, and just use them. But I'm kidding when I say that. But the defensive coordinator coming over from Ohio State, big bucks here. James Franklin banking that he can do a job with their defense. What was your take on that move this week?
It was a good get by James Franklin, and we knew that he was cooking something up because it took him a while to bring somebody in. That job was open for a while, it felt like. The other thing that people forget that Penn State did is they retained Andy Kotelnicki.
Yes, they did.
He was interviewing for some other jobs, and he's viewed as, I know Jim Knowles is viewed as one of the best defensive coordinators, but Kotelnicki's viewed as one of the top offensive coordinators. So they really have it as far as the coaching room. They really have a strong top 3 in that room between Franklin, Kotelnicki, and Knowles.
It was interesting with Jim Knowles being hired because I think he's Penn State's 3rd coordinator, defensive coordinator in like 3 or 4 years, and so they've not really ever had that one steady person each year. They've had good defenses during that time, good players, but. Now you got this guy coming in who looks like he's got like a 3-year contract, $3.1 million, and maybe there's going to be some stability there for Penn State after all this, different people going off to the different colleges as head coaches earlier.
Yeah, I don't know what Jim Knowles' goals are. Manny Diaz felt like Penn State being the defense coordinator was just, him gathering himself after his job at Miami, and he was in between at Temple, and Brent Pry left to be the head coach of Virginia Tech.
Right.
They really had so much success on defense that coaches get head coaching jobs that they can't turn down. And I don't know what Knowles' goals are, but I'm sure he'll be offered head coaching jobs if they're successful next year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when you look at Penn State next year, too, they've got, literally their whole offense back, looks like, although they've lost a couple of receivers, but that's, those are replaceable, but because they don't use them that much anyway, but we'll see how that goes next year. But, I wanted to talk a little bit, too, about the big game coming up with the Super Bowl, and you got, obviously, Philadelphia, Kansas City trying to make history here with 3 in a row. Do you have any thoughts about the two teams going in and how they're going into the Super Bowl right now, and what you're looking at as a guy that studies this game and has looked at this game from the standpoint of a quarterback?
It's amazing, obviously, being from Pennsylvania. I'm not a huge NFL guy where I choose a team and I have to watch them every weekend, but if I had to pick a team, I'd probably be an Eagles fan. And what they've done as far as building the roster has been extremely impressive over the past couple of years. And I know everyone wants to point to Saquon Barkley, but just the offensive line that they've built, the defensive line is extremely impressive and really helps them win games. That Rams game that they played first round of the playoffs, the Rams had a guy wide open they had Tyler Higbee wide open over the middle on a 3rd down when they were making that drive that would have won the game. But Jalen Carter busted through and got Matt Stafford down before he could get the ball out. It's impressive what kind of team they've been able to build, and the Chiefs just shock everyone every year, especially this year. I think they have like 12 plus games that they've won by 1 score, and it seems like they're a hard team to bet against at this point.
Yeah, they're a very good team. I mean, obviously Mahomes, you got Kelsey, but you got a whole lot of other people go with them as well. And their defense has gotten better and better. But, people talk about Jalen Hurts, and they say, well, he's not that flashy. He's not this, he's not that. But the guy wins. I mean, he's a great manager of a team. I don't know if you have the same thought about that. It just seems like he manages his team very, very well and does so without a whole lot of frills. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I try not to be too negative towards quarterbacks because I know how hard the position is. But Jalen Hurts is one of those guys that I haven't been overly impressed with, just as a complete quarterback. I think, like I said, the Eagles have built an impressive roster, and he's more of a bus rider, and he has been not just this year with Saquon Barkley, but in other years that they've won the Super Bowl. They just play good defense. They control the line of scrimmage. and he does his job. That's for sure. He doesn't mess it up.
Yeah.
But he's definitely there's guys on other teams that they have to perform every game, or their team will not even have a chance. It seems like Jalen Hurts can kind of just coast, and the Eagles will find a way to be up 20 in the third quarter. So, not overly impressed with what he does, but he definitely doesn't mess it up.
There you go. Well, there's a compliment there somewhere, I think, Cade. But hey, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Always appreciate it. Friday morning quarterbacking with Cade Pribula. And Cade, we'll look forward to catching up with you again next week, okay?
Yep, always good being on, Gary. Good talking to you.
Thanks, buddy. You take care and have a great weekend. Cade Pribula here on WOYK. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more news under the radar for you straight ahead here on the Gary Sutton Show. You can text us during the show here at 833-478-4729. Also, go to Gary Sutton Show on Facebook, and you can finish out the little statement of what will happen when hell freezes over. Today is National When Hell Freezes Over Day, and we're celebrating it here in rare style on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. Back with more right after this.